for February 27th, 28. It's a big slate of picks today. We got boxing, we got tennis, we got soccer, we got NBA, we got a whole heap of college basketball. So let's get into it and start out in the boxing. We got 3 picks during the boxing, 2 of them for the same fight. We're going to start out with an undercard bout, Zail Zhang versus Jerry Forrest. We're going less than 6 rounds at plus 260. Both these guys are knockout fighters without much of what I'd call a trusty chin. Zail Zhang was a really decorated amateur, but didn't really fight much in the pros nor competition-wise. Jerry Forrest is just a guy who gets fights, and he has some pop, but he's not an elite fighter. So I think both these guys who have some pop and probably won't come in the best of shape will not last the 6 rounds. So I really like that plus 260 in the Zail Zhang Jerry Forrest less than 6 rounds plus 260. All right, let's get into the big fight of the day. Canelo Alvarez fighting really, this fight shouldn't exist, but it's a mandatory. He wants to keep the belts and try to unify the belts. So we get this fight, and we're going to go easy here. Canelo Alvarez is 1-4 in rounds 1-4, minus 110, and Canelo Alvarez in rounds 1-3, plus 140. Just think this will be a quick fight. He could probably pick his round. I would not be opposed to picking a first-round knockout if he really wants to make this thing quick, easy, and over. So Canelo Alvarez in rounds 1-4 is minus 110. Canelo Alvarez in rounds 1-3, plus 140. I think we could get a little bit of money on this fight. There wasn't even really a knockout option because I think everybody thinks he's going to knock him out, and I think people thought they'd take advantage of that. So pick the rounds that he's going to go and see if you can hit a nice little spot here where it's even money up. All right, let's get into the tennis. We got the final in the Singapore Open, and we're going to go with Alexander Bublik. We've been riding him all Singapore Open. We're going for him in the final. Minus 1.5, minus 135 to Alexei Popyrin, the Australian. We think Alexander Bublik's going to get this title and be the Singapore Open champion. So let's ride Alexander Bublik to the title as we've been doing this whole tournament. Alexander Bublik, minus 1.5, minus 135. All right, let's get into the soccer. We got a handful of soccer today, much more than we had yesterday. Let's start out with a big matchup in the Premier League. We're going to go with Chelsea to win, both teams to score, plus 310 versus Manchester United. We're also going to have a little bet on Chelsea correct score, 2-1, plus 825 versus Manchester United. Really like the Chelsea to win, both teams to score here. I think this game might open up. Chelsea will have a lot of the ball. Manchester United will do what they like to do and sit back and hit on the counter. But I think they'll give Chelsea too much of the ball, and Chelsea will find themselves some goals here. So Chelsea to win, both teams to score, plus 310. Chelsea correct score, 2-1, plus 825. We got one more game in the Premier League. We're going with Hung Young Min to score and Tottenham to win. So Son to get us goal and Tottenham to get the win versus Burnley. We like Young Min Son to score here. Burnley should be broken down pretty easy. Their backline is not the fastest. I look for Son to get behind him. This might not be a pretty game. I'm guessing Mourinho will sit back and try to counter. Burnley only sits back and tries to counter, but maybe at some point Tottenham starts to push the edge and they can find a goal here. So Young Min Son to score, Tottenham to win, plus 140 versus Burnley. Let's move to La Liga, and we like Real Betis to win, both teams to score, plus 310 versus Cadiz. This should be a decent high-scoring matchup. Cadiz sometimes struggles to score, but I think both these will be happy to be an open play. Real Betis really likes to open up the field. They'll definitely score on Cadiz. I think Cadiz can squeeze a goal here. I really like Real Betis to win this game, so the plus 310 is really, really nice value. All right, that's all I have in La Liga. We're moving to the Bundesliga, and we're going with Freiburg in an upset, plus 333 versus Bayern Leverkusen. We just think Leverkusen will not bounce back well off of that Thursday match and that loss, bounced out of the Europa League to the Proud Boys. We think there'll be a little bit of a hangover here. We like these numbers on Freiburg. Freiburg plus 333 really seems like it's really, really nice. chance to take them and spring the upset here. And lastly, we'll go to one of the big games in Serie. And we're going to go with AC Milan, draw no bet, plus 110 versus Roma. Roma has really struggled versus the elite teams. I don't see it changing here. I look for AC Milan to get back on track. So AC Milan, draw no bet, plus 110 versus Roma here. All right, let's go to the NBA. A lot of games today, but I don't like very much. We're going to go with the Utah Jazz minus 10.5 versus the Orlando Magic. Tough loss for the Jazz last night, but we think they'll bounce back and dominate this really, really poor Orlando Magic team, and the Jazz will just sweep them away and put them away pretty easy. The only thing I think you have to worry about here is maybe a backdoor cover once this game gets out of control. It is on a back-to-back, so I don't know how long Utah Jazz's starters will play, but there's enough firepower on the bench for the Jazz to extend this lead. So Utah Jazz minus 10.5 versus the Orlando Magic. All right, let's get into some college basketball. Let's bring in our man Dynamite David and see what he has in his picks. Dynamite, what you got for us today?
Everyone, it's Dynamite David here with your NCAA picks for today, Saturday, February 27th. Big slate of games today, a lot of action. I've got 8 picks, and I'm going to run through them really quick for you. I like Texas plus 3.5 at Texas Tech. Boise State plus 5.5 at San Diego State. Oklahoma minus 4.5 at home versus Oklahoma State. Georgia Tech minus 4.5 at home versus Syracuse. Baylor minus 4.5 at Kansas. Alabama minus 5.5 at Mississippi State. Illinois plus 4.5 at Wisconsin. And finally, Arkansas minus 5.5 versus LSU. Back to you, champ.
Thanks, Dynamite. We got some similar picks today, so let's get into my side of picks. The first one, me and Dynamite agree. We like Georgia Tech minus the 4.5 for Syracuse. Georgia Tech been making a nice run here late. I look for that to continue and put it on the Orangemen here. Georgia Tech minus 4.5. We're going to go to Northern Colorado, where I think Northern Colorado is a slight favorite here to win this game. Minus 2.5 versus Portland State. We like this. Portland State should struggle going on the road here in this early game in Northern Colorado. So I just think this is a nice little spot here for Northern Colorado. Both these teams are about the same in the Big Sky Conference, so I look for home court advantage here. Northern Colorado in a game starting at 11 o'clock Eastern time. So, no, Eastern time. It's starting 2 o'clock Mountain West time. That would be 12 o'clock Eastern time. I'm screwing everything up here. It's starting 2 o'clock Eastern time, 12 o'clock Mountain West time, and I just think that'll be too tough for Portland State to get on. So we like Northern Colorado here. Next up, we're going to the big matchup of LSU versus Arkansas. Should be a great game, should be a high-scoring game, and we're going to ride that. LSU, Arkansas, over the 162.5. I didn't think Arkansas and Alabama would hit that over. They did not. I think this one will be more open and lots of scoring. I don't think they'll play it as close to the vest. I think this is a fun, free-flowing game, and both these teams really light up the scoreboard. That 162.5 is high, but I look for it to go over. Fun game. Be sure to watch it. LSU, Arkansas. Next, we're going to go to the A10. VCU plus 3.5 versus Davidson. Really tough. Davidson closing out the year. They haven't been all that great. It's really hard to take against them at home, but VCU's been on a nice little run here. A handful of good wins towards the end of the year here. They beat St. Louis. They have a win versus Richmond. They have a win versus St. Bonaventures and Dayton. Their only weird loss is an overtime loss to George Mason. But Dayton, St. Bonaventure, Richmond, and St. Louis in their last 5. I think they'll go to Dayton and be able to, Davidson, and be able to handle them, especially getting that plus 3.5 on the road. Davidson's just been really poor to close out the season here. So really, really, really like VCU here. So VCU getting plus 3.5 versus Davidson. All right, we're going to go to the Big Ten, and we're going to take Illinois plus 4.5 versus Wisconsin. Illinois, I think, is a much better team than Wisconsin. We think they'll bounce back off of their poor showings over the week, and I just think they'll be able to easily outscore this Wisconsin team who plays it way too slow a pace to hang with Illinois here. So just going to ride Illinois here. They beat them 75-60 in the first matchup. So I just look for that to continue here. So, and them getting plus is just really, really nice value. All right, let's go out to the Big East, and we're going to go with Marquette plus 7.5 versus UConn. We're going to look for Marquette to bounce off that North Carolina win in the midweek and be able to keep this UConn game close. Marquette's had a really, really poor season, but maybe they're able to pull something from that Carolina win. They're on a 2-game winning streak now. They beat Butler before that, really put it on Butler. So maybe they find a way to hang around in this UConn game. I just think 7.5 is way, way too many points. And we're going to go next to the big matchup of the day, Kansas versus Baylor. I like Kansas here. I think this is Baylor's first real true test. They can put the stake in the heart of, the champions of the Big 12 for years on years. Can they go into Cole Allen Fieldhouse and win this? I don't think so. I like Kansas getting points at home here. Kansas plus 4.5 versus Baylor. We'll see what Baylor's like here at the end of the season when everything's sort of been wrapped up for them. All right, last game of the day in the Pac-12. Colorado minus 6.5 versus UCLA. Just like Colorado here. Think they'll be really, really, really solid. They're coming off of just hammering of USC. I look for them now to go and hammer UCLA at home. So really expecting a big win from Colorado here after a really impressive showing versus USC, and they just hammer the two LA schools back to back. All right, those are our picks for the day. Be sure to follow us on greenlightnetwork.org, Greenlight Network on Facebook, Greenlight Network on YouTube. I'm GLN Champ 5 on Twitter and Instagram. That's our show, and we're out.